When we last talked, Clubhouse was still invite only, and now anyone in the world can join.
Yeah.
How has that changed the experience of Clubhouse now that anyone and everyone can participate if they want?
It's changed it in a really good way. It's something that we've always wanted to do. The only reason we were invite only for a long time is because the company was just two of us. And we always try and grow the community in a measured way so that things don't break as you scale. And moving beyond invites, moving on to Android, launching foundational features like DMs and search, it's stuff we've always wanted to do. We were just such a small team earlier in the year that we weren't ready to do it. And so now that we are, you just have such a bigger community, so much more diversity, so many more interesting rooms. It's changed it in a really good way.
You can now share and record conversations, which is very different from the earlier what happens on Clubhouse stays on Clubhouse mentality. Why the change?
Well, it's really an evolution of the product. The way we think about it is, as a creator of a room, you should be in control. If you want to have small private conversations, you should be able to have those. If you want to have public conversations and build a following as a creator, you should be able to do that. Our core when we started was really the small group conversations. It was a single community of beta testers, but we've always wanted to grow into a big global network of many different communities. And we want to make sure that those people have the right tools to build an audience if they want to do that.
When you started, social audio was a novel concept, and now there's Twitter Spaces. Facebook has launched live audio rooms. How do you see Clubhouse fitting into that future? Like, what will Clubhouse's niche be?
You know, we always say audio, it's a relatively new medium in the world of social networking, but it's the oldest medium. We've been gathering with other people in small groups and talking since the beginning of civilization. It's the foundation of civilization. And it's been growing quickly because of things like AirPods and smart speakers and text-to-speech technology getting good enough. And so it's been really exciting to get to lead the charge in this new space. As you mentioned, there are other people getting into audio, and that's not surprising. I think it's a durable medium. It's something that everyone's going to want to do. And the way that we think about it is focus is really important. When you look at networks that have grown in the past, we've seen that when a new medium emerges, it's usually a company that is fully focused on that medium that ends up being the category leader. For text, we had Twitter. For photos, we had Instagram. For video, we had YouTube, and now TikTok. And we think with social audio, it'll be similar, where being able to focus solely on that medium is going to be a really big benefit.
So let's talk about a community that has grown in the past, and that is Facebook. Obviously, Facebook facing a lot of controversies right now, and it seems like on Clubhouse, you can find your tribe, whatever that tribe is. How are you thinking about building sort of conscious community? And is that even possible on a global platform?
I think it is if you build the network structure the right way. We've always said on Clubhouse, creator first, which means that if you're the creator of the room, then you get to determine who's in the room. You get to determine the rules of the room. As long as they don't break the community guidelines of the overall platform, you can bring people together the way that you want to bring people together. And I think if you can give people the right containers, if you can allow them to gather people in a small room or a big room of their choosing, if you can help them form clubs and groups the way that they want to form them, you can scale that intimacy and you can allow people to shape it in whatever direction they like, while still growing as a big global platform.
Now, when we last spoke, I believe it was February, Clubhouse had lit the world on fire. Everybody wanted to be on Clubhouse. Now I'm hearing people saying Clubhouse has peaked. How do you respond to that?
Boy, I think we grew way, way too fast earlier this year. You know, I mentioned earlier, we've always tried to grow the platform in a measured way. And when you grow too quickly, things can break. And honestly, that happened to us earlier this year. It really stressed our systems. We grew much faster than we had ever expected. And we were 8 people at the time. So we had to scramble. We had to build out the team. We had to build out the infrastructure so that we could handle that sort of scale. We had to launch on Android. We had to get past the invite model. And now our team has grown from 8 people at the beginning of the year to more than 80. We built out all that foundation and all that infrastructure, and we're finally at the point where we can sort of take a breath and really focus on the long term, focus on steady growth.
So what can you tell us about user growth now, the pace, and do you see it sort of reaccelerating to that sort of February high, or do you see, kind of a more steady uptick?
I think steady is the goal. I think steady always has been the goal.
Yeah.
when we looked at the metrics that we really think about are really around engagement. How many rooms are getting started every day? How much time are people spending in the product? Are they having a good experience there? So room starts is one thing that we look at. And earlier in the summer, it was something like 300,000 rooms that were getting started a day. By the end of the summer, that had gone up to 700,000. The average listener spends more than 70 minutes a day in the app right now. That's been going up over time too. So what we really want to do is be on that path of steady, gradual growth. And we try to stay really heads down, focused on the product and the community and the long term.
And coming out of a pandemic, what's your level of confidence that people are going to stick around for Clubhouse when they have, I mean, here we are, your first in-person conference in a really long time, right? There are other options.
Rohan and I have been building social apps for a while. We met a decade ago when I was working on Highlight, and we often think about durability. What makes a platform durable? Normally new platforms emerge when there's a new medium. Text, photos, video, and we think spoken audio is another one. And spoken audio, it's such a universal thing. Voice, it's the first thing you hear when you come out of the womb. It's something that everyone does. And we think that's durable. You know, the best communication products, they don't invent new behaviors. They take things that we've always enjoyed doing and they just make it dramatically easier to do that. So when you come out of the pandemic, I think that's going to be really good for the platform. You're going to have people commuting twice a day. You're going to have people going to the gym. And I think it applies to other products too. I don't think people are going to stop using Amazon because they can go shop in person now. I don't think people will stop online dating because they can go to bars now. It's a complement to the real world.
Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, they are throwing billions of dollars at creators. What's the plan to pay creators? Is there a plan to pay creators? I know you have the Creators Accelerators program. And how do you see that relationship evolving?
So we've said from the earliest days that we want to build a platform that puts creators first. And really that means if you're hosting rooms, if you're making the effort to bring people together, we want to make sure that you're in control and that we have a business model where we're only making money as a company if you're making money as a creator. So we started by launching a payments product earlier in the year, and it allows people to pay each other on the platform. And if I pay you, 100% of that goes towards you. There's a small processing fee that goes 100% to our payment processing partner Stripe, and we take none of it. We're really excited over the next few months to launch additional features that allow creators to get paid directly by happy listeners who want to thank them for the experiences that they're creating. So subscriptions, paid rooms, in-app tipping, brand sponsorship, things like that are what we're investing in right now.
Would Clubhouse ever consider paying creators itself when, I mean, the competition is deep-pocketed and they're just throwing money out there. They're throwing money at creators.
I think in the long term, you want to have a business model that scales, that aligns the goals of the company with the goals of the creators who are using it. And that's really what you want to do in the long term. But I think paying creators is something that we should absolutely be thinking about. I think that the rules of social networks have changed a lot over the last 10 years. And these people who are doing the work to bring people together should be able to make a living. So in the long term, you want to have features that allow that to scale. But in the near term, as a company, you should be exploring all sorts of different models.
You've hired executives from Netflix, TikTok, from NPR, a head of news.
Yep, Nina Gregory from NPR.
What's the future of news on Clubhouse?
We hired Kelly, who ran the TED conference, and we've been hiring people who have deep experience working with creators across a lot of the leading platforms. And you know, that's really the plan. We want to have people on the team who have deep experience serving creators across many different platforms, but also people who have an appreciation for how live group audio is different and who have a desire and a willingness to do better than past platforms have done. So it's been amazing to build out the team with so many great leaders from all these other creator platforms and to put them all focused on this goal of building the best social audio platform in the world.
So am I going to be able to get my news updates on Clubhouse?
Absolutely. You already can. You look at News, you look at so many other clubs that have formed on the platform to do daily news shows and help you know what's going on in the world. I think live audio is a perfect platform for that. It could be interactive. When something happens in the world, we see this all the time. People come to Clubhouse to talk about it, not necessarily to break the news, but to be with other people in the moment and to share the feeling of what's happening. And so absolutely, we're very excited about news, which is part of the reason why we hired Nina Gregory from NPR to help lead that effort.
And how do you see the balance of live audio versus podcast time? Because it seemed like podcasts were all the rage for a while, but I mean, when you look at the actual numbers, it's still so tiny.
I love podcasts. I love audio as a medium. The challenge I have with podcasts is that it's pretty hard to create a podcast. RSS, it's very technical. It takes a lot of work and production. And if you think about how distribution works, how feedback works, it's challenging when it's based on the RSS standards. So what we want to do is allow people to do the same thing, to use their voice and to bring people together, to host all sorts of different shows and to create all sorts of new content for the audio format, but to do it in a way where creating the content is dramatically easier, assembling an audience is dramatically easier, monetizing, knowing more about your listeners, all of these things are dramatically easier. That's really our goal.
So paint the sort of vision of the future. And I know maybe for some people this vision is now when, like, I get in the car, I can control Clubhouse from my dashboard. I, can listen to my favorite talk show host and, I don't have to program anything for myself. And then how much time am I spending on Clubhouse and when versus all of the other things that are competing for my time? Like, how do you see Clubhouse fitting into my daily life in a sort of regular way?
One of the really nice things about audio is that it doesn't take time away from you, it gives you time back. We've tried to design the whole experience to be hands-free. So a lot of times when people are on Clubhouse, they're on a run, they're driving a car, they're folding laundry, they're nursing, they're doing all sorts of different things, and we think that's wonderful. We want to be a place that isn't about likes and follows and doom scrolling and having to look great in front of everyone else, but to create a more human place where you can spend as much time as you want on it, but you can close the app at the end of the session feeling better than you did when you opened it because you spent that time deepening friendships and meeting people and learning. And when you think about what you can do with audio, you can do a whole lot. It's not just radio, it's not just podcasts, it's conferences and conventions and dating and dinner parties and comedy shows and music festivals and political town halls and conventions and company earnings calls and post-game press conferences. We want to give people the tools. And what we found is that when you do that, they blow you away with their creativity.
You're so optimistic, Paul, and I'm so like, how do you maintain that level of optimism when so many tech platforms, it seems, have led us to disappointment or led us to see worse versions of ourselves? Like, how do you keep us from going there?
I feel incredibly grateful that we get to spend our time building this thing. I just love audio as a medium. I think it lends itself to authentic conversation. I think it lends itself to a deeper, more nuanced way of connecting with people, to greater understanding.
Even though you can say mean things to people.
Yeah.
You can say mean things to people. That's
say mean
audio.
things. So one thing that we've tried to do with the structure of the network is design it so that as a creator, you are always in control. So if you're hosting a room and I want to be in the room and you don't want me there, if you're on stage with someone and I want to come up and speak my mind and you don't want me on stage, we decided in the early days, every time we pick you. We make sure that you're always in control and you never have to experience that if you don't want to.
Yeah. All right, so year from now, gosh, it's been only 6 months and so much has changed. Where's Clubhouse in a year?
Well, I hope that we've been really focusing on the fundamentals. We try to stay really heads down, focused on the community. I'm going to do a new user onboarding that we do every week for an hour and a half in 20 minutes or so. We want to just stay heads down, listen to the community, make the product better and better and better every day. That means better discovery, more monetization tools for creators, localization and accessibility features so that everyone can experience it in a way that feels native to them, and a handful of other things that we're excited to talk about in the coming weeks.
We'll have to have you back to talk about that.
I would
Paul
love
Davison,
to do that.
CEO and co-founder of Clubhouse, thank you so much.
Thank you
Great
so
to have
much,
you
Emily.
back on the show.
Great to see you.